Greetings and welcome to my dear Sagittarius friends. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the Order of the Twin Sun. Please take only what you will. This is an energetic reading for the month of April 2023, particularly on the 6th of April. This chart has been generated. And this is a prognostication, a prognosis for essentially the full moon's energy that occurs in Libra at about 16 degrees of your 11th house, okay? With this, there's something about a breakthrough in terms of your community or perhaps some form of evolution that occurs within the space of your dreams, your ambitions, and also the collective sort of push of humanity in general. There's something about this wherein that community becomes balanced in some sort of way. There is a sense of enlightenment in terms of the full moon's energy in your 11th house, wherein you seek essentially harmonic relationships in terms of the nurturing aspect of the moon's energy, and it becomes a period of light bringing, okay, for that. This is actually in antithesis within the axis of the 11 and 5. It activates also your 5th house, and there's a blessing of some form of relationship that might be allowing you to become independent in some sort of way. Okay, this is pushing forward a sense of independence in terms of your own emotional equilibrium when dealing with significant others that are either romantically inclined or perhaps that are tied to the arts of some sort. There is a teacher here that you can look up to in terms of relationships that are that have the key signature of an affair or some sort of romance, but also any of your creative projects with others, or the sense that there's a pure solar aspect to this really pushes forward a sense of your 5th house, okay? So it's a very creative period for you. There's a lot of detachment in it and a lot of intellectual prowess, wherein your higher mind is pushing from the 7th to the 11th house. And with this a 7-11 movement, there is clarity, there's a sense of peace and harmony during this full moon on the 6th of April. At the same time, there's some certain challenging aspects here that might develop into a square, primarily with the shift that occurs with how money is transacted with friends, your friends in terms of also business associations, people that you're closely working with. There's something about a shift or a change and transformation in how money is essentially valued, or perhaps how you interact in terms of friends and family and how they might actually become the same thing. It really depends on how much you work in terms of how much you work on those types of connections. Now, there's a perfectionist quality here that is actually becoming something of a benefit, but also a burden. When it comes to your 6th house, you have the activation of Taurian energy, and there's a stellium. There's a stellium here that includes Venus on the high degree, 24 degrees, Uranus 17 degrees, the North Node, and Mercury tightly conjunct at 3 and 5 degrees. So essentially, what's going on here is an activation that's very auspicious, at least for early April, in which there's a possibility to get lessons from home, to also work in such a way that it perfects a mode of secrecy in which you are actively pushing forward connections or underground connections, or perhaps ways of accruing different types of wealth, essentially dealing with some sort of return in terms of a collective wealth or some sort of commonwealth. There's the possibility of really getting some form of inheritance also. I really like this triangular sort of creation here. That is very much an auspicious aspect. It's triangular in nature, and it activates your 12th, your 8th, and the 4th houses. There's a deep spiritual undertone that is occurring right now in terms of April that is being watched over by Saturn in Pisces in your 4th house. Okay, so it's structurally sound within the path of the 4, the 8, and the 12th houses for you, which actually is a very spiritual, auspicious thing, wherein you can actually look into past modes of being, past ways of doing things, and really embrace some of the more esoteric gifts that are pushing forward towards your sense of liberation on a spiritual path of some sort. Now the thing is that this is all done under the cover of night and very secret and also very deeply complex. Some of the challenges that have to do with this is actually some of the mysteries are karmically entwined in terms of transformation of the way you work with your friends and the way you work with money. Okay, so be careful to not conflate the two. One is a form of energy, money is a form of energy. At the same time, friends and as well communication is a form of energy, but do not conflate the two. Do not do that. Otherwise, it might become a bit toxic. There's a possibility here also of some form of challenge that is activating once again the Pluto aspect between Capricorn and Aquarius. When this occurs, we have to look towards Saturn to learn the lesson for this. And Saturn is placed about a house away. So it's activating your first house, your fourth house, and 1.5 houses almost towards some form of identity or perhaps some sense of resourcefulness. Here, the challenge is to find your own sense of resourcefulness, even though you may be transcendental in nature, wherein you are sort of putting actions towards negating a certain karma or perhaps building a sense of stability in a place that is your own. That is a place that you can call your own domicile, your own workplace, and it's directly related to your inner world and a deep spiritual quest for liberation in terms of that inner world and that private business. Okay, but that is your own. At the same time, there's something about a block here when it comes to the collective idea of what we desire, okay, in terms of a society and how this can be a block towards your progression towards some sort of spiritual transformation, okay? If you're undergoing the spiritual transformation, you must know that the transformation that is occurring with your friends as well as with your work are going to be a challenge when it comes to really defining how to clear out certain karmas that are tied directly to the South Node in the 12th house in Scorpio for you in particular. Now, this points to essentially a mystical irony. In most mystery rites, there is the known, there is the unknown, and often the known becomes known through the unknown. And that is the mystery way of thinking of things in terms of representation or in terms of the name of God, for example. The via negativa or perhaps the apophatic way of looking at things, wherein the mystery itself, it shows in our processes, in our thought processes, how we can know essentially what it is that we're here to do by knowing we're here not to do, okay? And that's sort of some of the advice I have for this month in particular. We also see a very strong effect of essentially the conjunction of Mercury and the North Node in Taurus in your sixth house. It's very much pointing here. What I'm seeing here is that there's something about what you're doing that requires a lot of almost stagnation, stillness, or perhaps the stamina to be silent, the stamina to be still. And that requires a lot of stamina, counterintuitively. Like usually stamina is required for the endurance of a long and arduous trip or a long and arduous project. But the idea here is to find that stillness, and if you can find it on a mental or spiritual level, you will be gifted with quite a bit in terms of your own efforts, about your own desires, or perhaps what's coming into your mind in terms of being charged by the Hierophant's energy in the sixth house, okay? And that's sort of the mystery that I see here that is quite profound. At the same time, there's something about the values with Venus in Taurus. There's something about Venus being at home in Taurus in the sixth house that is actually really going to gift you with quite a bit when it comes to your own structures of what you think home is on an abstract level and on a conceptual level, and then how to approach that and bring that idea to your friends as they go through a transformation or as you go through a transformation with them in the way you perceive money, okay? That's the very best I can do for now. I do thank you. Bye-bye.